So, Chris Hall works for the NHBC. Who's the NHBC? Well, we're the largest UK-based new home warranty provider. We're also the largest building control body that you probably don't know. So what does that mean? We're going to be carried to and held to account by the building safety regulator. We're going to have to become registered. We're going to have to work very, very closely with all of our developers, manufacturers and partners and stakeholders when it comes to delivering the Building Safety Act. But we're going to talk a little bit around cavity trays. So we're here today to look at the ACS products, but specifically I want to go through some of the details that we discovered when we were looking at non-combustible facades. So we're talking about the history. Where did it come from? Where did that requirement arise from? We're going to look a little bit about the initial position that we found ourselves in when the news became evident. We're going to look at the opinion on the relaxation that came in June 2022, a little bit about where we are now, and some other points for consideration. So, bearing in mind that our strapline is all about raising standards, protecting homeowners. When the news came out in the change in Regulation 7 in 2018, we all had to react very quickly, whether you're on the architectural side, the design side, you were looking at the actual construction phase of your builds, specifications, QSs, manufacturers, everyone had to jump and very quickly. That requirement banned the use of combustible materials in an external wall to any building where the upper story was above 18 metres in height. So, with that requirement being in place, it meant that all specified attachments and the external wall needed to achieve European Class A1 or A2 S1D0, and we can talk about that later if you need to. But what it meant essentially was that works that were in progress were suddenly at risk. We had a massive issue on our hands. We run, typically, in any given year, somewhere around about 17,000 construction sites where we will be actively providing warranty and possibly building control. Generally, it could be up to 1 million plots in build. Now, of course, a lot of those are going to be low-rise homes, but many of them are also managed by a major projects team out of London, across the UK, and they're going to be buildings, what would now be deemed buildings in scope. So, we had to react, and we had to react fairly fast. We didn't do that on our own. We did that with as many stakeholders as we could gather together at that time in 2018. But immediately, there was that concern around the products in the market. Where were they? We didn't have any, at that time, certified products that we could trust to provide the resilience that we needed to prove both our legal responsibilities as a building control body, but also that duty of care to our homeowners. That's really, really important. So we had to work with the market manufacturers and with the market to try and develop the performance criteria. So these were our red lines: fire, water ingress, movement, structural performance and durability. So without those key criteria being met, we couldn't trust any product that was going to be brought in and built into the buildings that we were going to end up covering. Don't forget that we're also an underwriter as well as an insurer, so we have to bankroll these projects. If anything goes wrong, we've got a lot of skin in the game. The cavity trays, we decided, needed third-party certification. Therefore, as a warranty-only body, we are not accredited to provide that third-party accreditation. We rely on other parties. In this case, we went out to the existing agreement providers, BBA, Keyword, UL. There are many out there, but not all of them could do what we needed them to do in the time frame. We wrote to what was then MHCLG, raising concerns about the lack of the product within the market, but writing a letter doesn't really solve the problem. It certainly didn't solve our problem. So, fast forward a little bit to 2022. By this time, we had lots and lots of tray products in the market. They had in some cases been covered by NHBC accepts in the interim position, whilst we were looking to achieve that third-party accreditation. But it left us now with some concerns when, having gone through a consultation phase, we responded in the consultation that relaxation of the requirements under Regulation 7 was no longer necessary. The industry had caught up. However, it was the case that DLUC decided to push forward and introduce the relaxation of the requirements under Regulation 7, and that was pushed through from June 2022. So this now put us on a bit of a sticky wicket. We're back to where we were a little bit in 2018. So we had to think again. We've now got lots of buildings in build where the manufacturers have provided a certified tray system in use. Great. Box number 1 ticked. We then had buildings which were halfway through construction, where the developer may choose to water down the specification, use a cheaper product, use a less certified product, but then we're covering a building that's got up to maybe floor of story 7 in non-combustible. Everything above that could be something else to be decided by the developer. If we're the building control body, we're in a better position to manage that. However, we cannot stop builders from building. We have no legal powers in that regard. So it put us in a bit of a difficult position. So although it wasn't enforceable, we decided to set our standard as high as it needed to be to ensure that duty of care to the homeowner or to the freeholder, because you've got different people in the stakeholder mix here, and we see our duty primarily though to the homeowner. And so we say, although it's not enforceable, we prefer to see non-combustible trays used in buildings above 18 metres in height. Luckily, most developers agreed to this position and followed along. So we also say that cavity trays above 18 metres still need to be non-combustible and must have third-party accreditation due to the complexity, especially about the durability. These buildings are very hard to get to. We do not want to go in there and do any remedial works that we can avoid. Given that we already spend about £90 million a year in claims, we don't want to be shelling out any more than that. So a system needs to be used in its entirety. When I say in its entirety, a system isn't just a collection of components pulled together, well, some butyl tape from here and some screws from there. We need a system. We need something complete that we can rely on. So, lastly, what I want to think about here is just the bigger picture. Yes, we're looking at house building. We don't look at industrial, we don't look at healthcare, we don't look at education, but these are all equal markets where we need to be concerned for the consumer. The consumer is really important. To us, the consumer is not just the end user, it's the person who's going to buy it 10 years, 15, 20 years from now, the person who's got to maintain it, do the fire risk assessments. It's the RICS surveyor who's got to do the EWS1 form. What happens if this relaxation gets lifted? What are we going to do if these buildings have got an absolute bag of bits when it comes to cavity trays from all different sources in the actual envelope? You can't unbake a cake. We are not in a position to be able to go in there and undo all this work if we find it to be non-compliant. So we're going to rely on the developers, on DLUC, the manufacturers especially, to give the confidence that these systems will stand the test of time. We need them to. We're looking for that 60-year service life as a minimum. So the building safety regulator, what they are currently saying is a little bit vague, if I'm absolutely honest. Although we're fairly close to the DLUC side of things and to the regulator, we're not getting the confidence I think that we need at the moment to give that clarity that we all need. So in the absence of that clarity, go high, aim high, don't aim low, don't try and shave the cheese, please. And lastly, we all want that build construction quality and buildability. I think from a buildability point of view, bearing in mind that we inspect probably about, I think we did last year, about 1.8 million unique inspections on buildings of all sizes and shapes across the UK. I think that if anyone's got experience about seeing what's going wrong on the ground, it's organisations like the NHBC, like LEBC, Premier, all the warranty providers are saying the same kind of things here. We want to make sure that building's going to stand the test of time. So yeah, but anything that we can do as a warranty provider to help that happen has got to be a good thing. And with that, I'm going to pass on to Paul.